Section 18 of the American Diary of a Japanese Girl. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Kristen Hand. The American Diary of a Japanese Girl by Yone Noguchi. In America, Part 16. 10th. My uncle wanted me to join him in visiting a stockyard to see the doomed pigs groaning foo, foo, foo. I declined. Uncle started off alone. There was some time before I heard someone fisting on my door. "A Japanese gentleman wishes to see your husband, madam," a hotel attendant addressed me. "Good God, my husband?" I cried. Satemo. How could any porter be such an ignoramus as not to distinguish between Mrs. and Miss? Possibly he esteemed me modern enough to marry an old man for money's sake. Oya, he was Mr. Consul of Chicago. "Walk in, sir. Uchino Hito will return within an hour or so." Then I explained about my husband. We both laughed. There is nothing more pleasing when in an alien country than a chit-chat in our native bicha-bicha, Japanese speech. Such a beautifully indefinite, poetically untidy language. I love it. 11th. It would be too much of a risk of one's life to stay in Chicago. Goodbye. Flowerless, birdless city, sayonara. Buffalo, 12th. Niagara Falls was a disappointment. Uncle says I have still to learn how to be appreciative of things. A red brick chimney by the falls spoils the whole affair, I do think. My uncle was cross, saying that he had eaten the toughest beef of his life. He seized 2 Canadian dimes and a bogus $50 in an hour. Poor uncle. Isn't this Buffalo town awful? I said. New York, 13th. Miss Morning Glory has stepped into Greater New York at last. 13th of March, 1900. Today will be the special day of my family history. My entrance was delightful to the full. The train stole gracefully into the city at early morn. The sky was distinct, like the lake of Biwa. The respectable face of the city accepted us charmingly. I bounced my little body in my happy thought of another chapter of life. I felt like Dante, crawled out of darkest hell after the torture of the terrible show. Oh, Chicago. Our kind Japanese consul of New York was looking after our arrival with a carriage. I saw a horse car trotting. It encouraged me to think that even an ignorant Jap girl might find her own living here, since such an old-fashioned thing exists perfectly. I secretly fixed in my mind that I will adventure my independent life when the crisis demands. Our carriage rolled up Fifth Avenue to Central Park. How often had I imagined laying me in this celebrated ground? "Pray let me off to smell the smell of the New York breeze," I exclaimed. When I was stationed on the 3rd floor of an edifice on Riverside Drive, what a brisk name in the world, which was Mr. Consul's home, my bubbling fancies hastened down with the waters of the Hudson River under my window. Hudson River? It is my dear old acquaintance, introduced by the ever-so-pleasing Mr. Irving. See its classical profundity before my face. Where's Sleepy Hollow, I wonder? The spectacle of the river reminded me of the Sumida Gawa of Tokyo, mirroring the clouds of affectionate cherry blossoms which border its bank. It would be a remarkable idea, I thought, to petition the mayor of New York for the Japanese cherry trees to parade on this side of the Hudson. When they are in flower, I will open a tea-house under them, of course. My attire as a mistress should be a little red crepe apron to begin with. My head will be wound with a Japanese towel to endow my oriental eyes with certain better results. I will raise my voice, calling, "Honorable rest! Honorable tea plucked by the choicest musumis." What a novel! Romance. How I can live without it. In that case, I must entreat the removal of the characters on the other side, which are lots for sale, because I don't see any such unaristocratic sign by the Sumida Gawa. 14th. Oh, snow! Yukaya Furay Furay. The season of the city is still within the fence of winter. I was grateful to my fate that conveyed me here to overtake my loving snow. I settled me by my window in absorption with the snow view of Hudson Gawa. How busily the snowflakes fall. Their cautiously silent hurry made me recollect the drama of the China-Japan War. How stealthily the soldiers marched at midnight. Can I ever forget how I tugged my shoji, crying, "Victory, die Nippon!" I raised the window, stretching out my arm. I collected the snow petals in the hollow of my palm. I tasted them. "Uncle, New York snow is as deliciously savored as at home," I said. Central Park must have been artistically attired. "Oji-san, let us go to the park for snow viewing. I advise you to till a bit more poetry in yourself, uncle," I announced. I began to change my dress before his decision. 15th. We went to the famous Brooklyn Bridge. Verily, New York gentlemen are interested with their papers in the car. Newspapers, oh newspapers. There's no slip of a doubt that they would die without the sight of their newspapers. The unheroic part about them is that they forget neatly to offer their seats to a lady. Woman loves an absent-minded man once in a while, but never on the car, I do say. I suppose every woman of this city has to be rich. Must I equip a carriage? I do not see why I could not win the first prize with my Louisiana ticket. How I wish to fabric an every-inch a Japanese mansion on Fifth Avenue, and welcome 1,000 Tojins to hear my Jap song on Sunday. Is this bridge built for Americans or Europeans, uncle? People crossing here use no English, I said. Liberty statue. I will let the beauty statue hail from the Bay of Yedo when I am wealthy enough to afford it. Doesn't Nippon signify beauty? How dear is that sign, "Beware of pickpockets." It makes me just feel as if I were at Shinbashi Station in Tokyo, doesn't it you, uncle? Humbly humble Rikisha men. If I were besieged by them imploring me to take a little honorable ride, the scene would be complete. I miss such a merry car in America. We walked down Broadway. We came to a graveyard. Tombstones in the midst of commerce. Oh, romantic New York! I wondered how Wall Street gentlemen would be struck glancing at them. What a soft silence hovered. The old Gothic church was my own ideal. "Uncle, let us fall in and rest," I cried. The morning service was proceeding. Alas and alas, not one soul was there. Is this a religious city? The inside was compact of heavenly purple air. Mr. Bishop, whatever he may be, gestured like another being from a loftier realm. A beautiful boy, there's no greater fascination than a boy with a prayer book, supported the service. Intangibleness of speech is itself a divine charm. Will you mind asking Mr. Bishop whether he wants a sweeping girl? I wish I were given just a chance to clean such a holy church, uncle. Then I looked up to Mr. Secretary. 16th. It seems to me a recent style that New York ladies discard their babies to leave them in the hands of European immigrants. Very likely they want them to learn an ungrammatical hodgepodge, as respectableness is old-fashioned, and accompany a dog with mighty affection. Oh, my dear chin that I left at home. Shall I call it to America? Little loyal thing, pathetic, clinging. I am sure it would beat any other in a dog contest. 17th. I never saw such hungry eyes in my life as those of an organ grinder, set upon the windows for a dropping penny. To an artist they would hint of a prisoner's bloodshot eyes, numbed by useless gazing toward the light of the world. Poor Italians! They don't know one thing but turning the handle. The last 2 days they placed their organ, read their sign, Garibaldi and Company, under my apartment at the same hour for my bit money. I thought one of them might be a grandson of the renowned Italian patriot. How interesting it would be to be told of his shipwreck in life. Now 3 o'clock. There's 1 more hour before their frolic music will gush. I must wrap some money in paper for them. God bless them, simple creatures who work hard. 18th. Mr. Consul, an old man who sips the greatness of celibacy, never strays out from his official duty. He calls society and novels 2 recent pieces of foolery. The family of uncle's intimate is off in Europe. The possibility of a nice time for me is very illegible. Sumarani. Last night I sketched an adventure of enlisting in the band of domestics. Capital idea to examine a New York household, I said when I left my breakfast table. I humbled myself to a newspaper office with the following shamefaced advertisement. Jap girl, 19, good-looking, Longs for a place in a family of the first rank. I used every kind of oratory to bring my uncle to agree to my 2 weeks of freedom. 19th. 2 letters were waiting for me at the office. One from number 296 of a certain part. 296? Unfortunately, it sounds like Nikumu in Japanese, meaning hatred. And the other was from Fifth Avenue. Parlor maid. $12 for a month. I shall accept it, since it is the proper quarter for seeing the high-toned New Yorker. I feel already a servant feeling. I am sorry that I didn't discipline myself before in dusting. I will style me an honest worker for a while. Toiling for my daily bread does ring an American sound, doesn't it? Domestic girl has no right, I think, to sit with Messrs. Consul and Secretary, I said, moving my dinner plate to the kitchen table. Morning glory, isn't it time you changed the book of your diary? Really, sir? Let me close now with a ceremonious bow. My next book shall be entitled The Diary of a Parlor Maid. End of section 18. End of The American Diary of a Japanese Girl by Yone Noguchi.